Please help me welcome our second speaker, Bob. His topic is More Will Be Revealed.
Everybody, I'm an act. My name's Bobby. Woo! Goodness gracious. Oh man, you don't know how good it feels to be here. And alive. I'm really, David, thank you for sharing. I needed that emotional boost. I'm really glad he perked us up a little bit because I'm in dire need of being perked up and getting that spirit rolling for me a little bit. My topic is More Will Be Revealed, and I've had a long and I've been clean more than half of my life, right? And I'm like 36 years old now. I actually just turned 60 this past year. So, and I want to get to a little piece to kind of, talk about this whole transformation that has occurred in my life. And before I come to that, though, it's been a little bit on my mind lately because I've been thinking about, I've never experienced any drought in Narcotics Anonymous. There's never been a time when I didn't have a sponsor. There's never been a time when I didn't have a home group. There's never been a time when I didn't make meetings regularly. I've always been in service. And clearly that's what I needed to do in order to stay here. And sometimes I think about it, we look around and there's been a lot of things that have happened, and I don't want to kind of date myself, nor do I want to talk about drugs that aren't contemporary. I want to be able to relate to the young people that are here in recovery because, your desperation is my desperation. But there's no doubt about it. Maybe one of the biggest blessings I had was that there was no confusion for me. I knew that I was a hope to die Dauphine. I really believed that I got clean the day before I died. Me too. Although my surrender, took an awfully long time, before I got clean. I was introduced to Narcotics Anonymous in 1973. I didn't get clean until 1981. So, for about 8 years, I was on that, on that fake road to recovery. However, there was no confusion for me. I had 8 felony arrests. I've been through 23 different institutions. I used to use a soup ladle to cook my dope. There was never a question in my mind that my desperation was evident. There wasn't with the places and the things, I had totaled 6 cars and a motorcycle by the time I was 20 years old. And one year I had 13 accidents, rushing to the methadone plant. And as a result of that confusion, or not having that confusion, when I finally was able to surrender, out of that desperation, I really believe that I made a conclusion that by surrendering, that I would have to work this program with, all the energy and all the vigilance that I could possibly muster. That's what I had to do. And maybe you can't, maybe that history is unfamiliar to you, and, and I can get that, and I'm happy that, we're all here at different times and have different experiences. And maybe you can relate to this piece because it wasn't until as part of that surrender did I really come to grips with the idea that the manifestation that the drugs were just a symptom, right? Because when I was a little child, my grandmother would often tell the story, when I was really tiny and I didn't get what I wanted, you know, I would stand at the top of the staircase, you know, and I would threaten to jump. And my grandmother would be at the bottom of the staircase and she'd be going, you know, Marie, 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 just give him what he wants, give him what he wants. You know, my mother would be at the top of the staircase and she'd go ahead, jump, jump, go ahead, jump. You know, so, you know, that idea, what really occurred for me was forget about that history, forget about that desperation. You know, you're probably here because, like me, everything in my life was about, you know, my own safety and security. I had to control my environment to the maximum because if I wasn't in control, if I wasn't managing that chess table, I was pretty fucked up. I really needed to be able to have some barometer of some sense that if I didn't have things going my way, you know, that I was in trouble. And, you know, and that path that took me to that critical point of surrender, you know, all was manifested from this emotional feeling of not being or having control. Needing so desperately, you know, to have safety and security, you know, for me. You know, somehow I'm just wired that way where I guess I kind of feel like, you know, that I'm the focal point and the world kind of revolved around me and I had to manage things likewise. Otherwise, it would be too confusing. And, you know, clearly, you know, that path or that journey, as desperate as I was, I didn't realize how much of this disease was so inherent to everything I did until I was really able to surrender and begin to make those discoveries. And that's what this journey is about. You know, so, you know, like we, you know, often remind each other that it doesn't matter what or how much we used, really what matters is what it is we're going to do today. You know, that's the act of daily reprieve. That's that whole idea that it doesn't really matter, you know, what you did, you know, where you come from, what our differences are. That Narcotics Anonymous gives us this fresh breath of life. And if we're wired that way where, you know, impulsivity, compulsivity, you know, vulnerability to depression, you know, all of those insecurities and inadequacies that were clearly a part of my life that made me choose an escape to something else and run from you, coming here and understanding and discovering all that helped me figure a path how to deal with it and how to compensate and how to cope with it. Because when I wake up in the morning, I'm not, you know, my mind isn't triggered to say, you know, let me read a spiritual piece. Let me get God-centered. Let me become more considerate and helpful and generous and affectionate. You know, let me be the caregiver to my children. Let me be respectful in my relationship. My mind automatically doesn't tilt that way. You know, inherent in me and why I'm here is because it goes a different path. And I need this. And I'll tell you how desperately I need this. And I want to kind of like rock into, you know, we talk about a daily reprieve. And I'm here for very selfish reasons. You know, I got a very long and wonderful history with some people that are affiliated with this convention. You know, unbelievable history. You know, they're part of my recovery roots, you know. And Rosie, who I hope you are here tomorrow, you know, is going to be speaking at the spiritual meeting. And, you know, we met each other at a very vulnerable time in our lives, and all that was pushed aside because out of our own personal desperation, we sought through Narcotics Anonymous this help. And the paradox was that by trying to help and build something for others, we receive the benefit. That's the act of service. That's the act of service. I would have to guess nobody would pop out the $25 or the time to be here if you weren't searching like me. Searching and hunting. What's that discovery about? What is it that separates me? And not that we're unique, because men's meetings, we settled that issue eons ago. There is no exclusive club here. There is a meeting in Wichita, Kansas for people with extraordinarily long fingernails. But besides that exclusive meeting, But there's no black and white meeting. There's no Catholic or Muslim meeting. There is really no men's or women's meeting. Now, it does take that connection. When I came to Narcotics Anonymous, this was all Caucasian, like me. And most of the kids that came to NA, we were all either, there was a handful of people that were in their 30s or 40s. We were all middle class or lower class white kids, and just about everybody was a heroin addict. And we were all here, out of real desperation. It was pretty freaky in the 70s. My first treatment center, the way that they treated heroin addicts was electric shock treatment. I can remember in Philly, and I'm from Philly, let me throw this out there. My home group is the 11th Step and Then Some. We meet on Wednesday night, 7:30. It's a spectacular group. Please come and join us whenever you can. We used to get busted if we had Traxone arms. Being tipped off to a program like Narcotics Anonymous that was really young and really, primarily everything was centered around the other fellowship, there was a long period of time where the only way we could feel our way around recovery was by just surrendering and not using and sharing that experience. And just like David said, the reliance on other people. And that is so critical. An addict alone is in bad company, believe me. Seriously in bad company. And that's like, and going back to being selfish, to be able to be part and see, some of those roots. Mostly all of Rosie and my friends are now passed on. That we grew up in recovery with. More will be revealed. And I would go to the meeting tonight that's on aging, but it starts at 10 o'clock and I'll probably be asleep by then. I don't understand why they should put that like at noon. Or 5 o'clock just before dinner time. So we could go pick up the seniors' meal, come back. So check this out, and let me just, so here I am, I'm at the World Convention. Hey, wasn't that cool in Philadelphia? Fucking A, man. Philadelphia is the second oldest service structure in the world. Did you guys know that? In the whole world, second oldest. So anyway, and I run into my friend Craig from New York, and we were outside the Marriott, and remember where all those people would smoke in the Marriott? Outside the Marriott? Everybody would be out there smoking, and I'm like an over 40 year, 45 year, 50 year smoker, some shit. And I stopped smoking cigarettes about 10 years ago, but I've been smoking these baby cigars, just like a cigarette. Whenever I smoke cigars, I would inhale. I would wake up in the morning, go downstairs in the basement, just like the addict that I am, right? And instead of, you know, smoking a cigarette, I'd have a cup of coffee and light up a big cigar and smoke it like a cigarette. In any event, I'm with Craig and we're outside there, and you know, both of us have young children. I have 4 kids. None of my 4 children, my oldest will be 29, ever saw me harpoon myself. Never saw me fucked up. Ever saw me fucked up. So I got a shot at interrupting the cycle, the genetic cycle of addiction. And the way that I do that is by modeling. That's, you know, every parent that's in here, the way that we interrupt that cycle of addiction is by our model. That's what I learned. All of my children have been exposed to Narcotics Anonymous since the time they've been infants. I mean, my youngest daughter, you know, had said to me, well, when you kick the bucket, or all your NA friends, I love your NA friends, and she'll go down the list, you know, who she loves the most and all that other kind of stuff. But, you know, they're so integrated into recovery because, you know, it's such, you know, I'm here because I need to be here. And they need to be exposed to it because this is such an integral part of my life. It's like there's no delineation between my work, my marriage, you know, my parenting, you know, pumping gas, and my recovery. You know, the spiritual principles I've learned live in every single thing I do. They have to. I don't work them all the time, but they have to be in every single thing I do. So Craig and I are outside the Marriott, and we're, you know, knocking them down, and we look at each other and I say, you know, enough of this bullshit. Let's target Thanksgiving to quit smoking, right? So, you know, we're calling and we're texting each other because that was what, at Labor Day. You know, of course, like any dope fiend, I'll quit tomorrow. You know, I give myself this long-range plan. And it actually came about because Ryan, you know, had actually presented me with this, like, because he would be, you know, Ryan's ever, you know, at my house often with my family and stuff like that, and he hears the kids, you know, about me smoking. And so he had, you know, said to me, well, what the fuck are you going to do? So that was all in the back of my head, and first of all, let me be very clear about this. I am not a reformed smoker. If you want to smoke, you know, I have no judgment on that whatsoever. No big deal. In any event, I just felt like I needed to kind of, right? And I was experiencing this shortness of breath. I had to rearrange my parking space at work, which was a further distance from where I would normally go get my car. And as I would walk out to my car, I could actually feel what I now know is some angina symptoms, meaning that I was getting some tightness in my left arm, blah, 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 blah. So I thought, if I quit smoking, those symptoms will diminish and I'll be okay, right? So I target for Thanksgiving. Sure enough, Thanksgiving comes, last smoke. And just like any other challenge in Narcotics Anonymous, and I've had, you know, I would say this, that in my active addiction, my only I never got pregnant. And the same holds true for my recovery, you know, so, you know. There's a lot of things that I attempted to do, and execution has always been the big obstacle, right? We make a lot of promises, can we keep them? You know, this is a program of transformation. You know, David outlined so many things and identified so many things that we have to, that we're challenged with and that we have to do. If we don't do them, what the fuck is, what do the words mean? Right? So, you know, Thanksgiving night, I put them down, the act of surrender. You know, I share about it at meetings, I share with my sponsor, he was really happy about it, and blah, 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 blah. So after about 3 days, the shortness of breath that I was experiencing, I started to feel a little bit better. I could actually take a deep breath. At the same time, shortly after that, it seemed like my symptoms got worse. So I was flying back from Pittsburgh just before Christmas, and they dropped me off at the end of Terminal B. And by the time I walked outside where my wife was picking me up, and I got in the car, I couldn't even talk. I was that out of breath. So I knew that, I can't fuck around any longer. Something's up, right? Now, I've really been fortunate to recover. I've never had any invasive surgery. I've never had the challenge of any medical issues. I wasn't walking around real sickly, right? And as a result, I meet with a cardiologist that Thursday. And after I describe my symptoms to him, within 15 minutes he says, forget about all the stress tests, the nuclear stress tests. We have to do a heart catheterization tomorrow. Another thing I learned in Narcotics Anonymous, is that you console others, right? I don't do things alone, right? And as compelling of an argument as this guy has, and we also learn by intuition how to trust people for once in our life, don't we? I remember when I walked away from doing my fifth step, there were things that I had experienced and communicated that I was going to my grave with. The courage that fifth step gave me, the courage that it gave me to be able to understand I finally can trust somebody else and my God. And think about this thought, that if there is no God, then there is only God. There's either no God or only God. So I'm on the phone, I put my wife on speakerphone, he explains what's going on, and I make this commitment to do this heart catheterization. 2 days before Christmas, they blow up my hand like a balloon. They stick a strobe in there. They go up into my heart. The first artery they get to, it's 50% blocked. They go by that. The second artery they get to is 90% blocked. So they put a stent in. The third artery they get to is 100% blocked. So I had been walking around on like 20% capacity. Apparently what had happened, and think about this gift and how, the miracle of life and some of the positive things that we do, my body compensated and formed what they call collateral capillaries. And as a result, instead of this one blocked artery, it was shooting to my heart through these collateral capillaries, blood and oxygen, enough to kind of keep my heart going. And, clearly, this is pretty shocking news and very, very surreal. The problem was, after that procedure, when I got up, everybody looked at me and said, "How do you feel?" And I didn't feel any different. I'd walk up a flight of stairs and I'd be out of breath, highly fatigued, and really tired. And then rolled in all the fear. Look, I got over 30 years clean. I have a wonderful, wonderful sponsor. I got an incredible network of people. And I'm not afraid to ask for prayers. Narcotics Anonymous has taught me to be vulnerable. To know that, if and when I feel alone, I have to reach out. This is my lifeblood. This is what connects me to myself. This is what helps me see the things I can't or don't want to reckon with on my own. And, I knew that I had this challenge where they would have to go in for this significant, procedure that would require some real intensity. In other words, to open up this last occlusion. Or else I would be what they refer to as a cardiac cripple for the rest of my life. So they gave me some medicine. I went to see this other doctor, one of the top 2 cardiologists in Philadelphia, supposedly, and he was a cocky, arrogant prick. You know, I think why I got a little bit evil with him was because, you know, it was like, you're a 40-year smoker and you know what you know and you continue to fucking smoke. What kind of idiot are you? He didn't say that, but I guarantee he was fucking thinking that. And I went back to this first doc who said, let's be really, really aggressive. So check this out. So here I am over the last 6 weeks, feeling very melancholy, and think about this, man. This is a gift of life. You know, look, everybody has their cross to bear. Everybody's problem is always the worst because you have to live it, right? I'm not here to suggest that my dilemma is any worse than yours. When we're trapped in that fear and insecurity and uncertainty and lack of control and inability to be able to do anything with our lives, we are all the same. That's what we connect to. That's that message of hope. That's why I'm inspired. That's why I go to meetings. That's why I call my sponsor. That's why I read spiritual literature. That's why I'm in service. You know, because I need that connection to who I really am. And I can only be afforded that connection by you revealing to me that truth. You know, because I am left with rationalization and justification. No matter, I'm wired that way. When I get up in the morning, that's how I think. I have to be tilted towards you. Sometimes it's really intrusive. A lot of days, you know what? I work it because this teaches us vigilance and self-discipline and responsibility and accountability. That's what recovery has given me. It's given me a response to my ailment. It's given me a sense of direction. It's ended my loneliness and provided for me an opportunity to be able to have this reprieve and live it to the fullest. Monday, this past week, right, I go in and they put me under. They created 2 incisions in my groin, about the size of a quarter, and they went in with these instruments. And because of these collateral capillaries, they try to hit this artery that is occluded with a laser beam, a diamond drill bit, and a vacuum cleaner. They had to return everything to Home Depot after it was over. And when they got there, they found that they couldn't get in. And for whatever reasons, you know, you talk about, my doctors are saying to me, you're a miracle. And I really believe one of the reasons why they fought for my health was because of this. And you want to know what else? I'm going to tell you what else that I know for a fact, that I believe in my mind, body, and spirit, is because of your prayers. That's the gift here. Because I said, I'm vulnerable, I'm scared, I'm afraid. Will you pray for me? And you did. And the doc who they had postponed the surgery from the week earlier to this past Monday because they had to order extra instrumentation. And what they had to order was the small caliber probes so that they could get through those little collateral vessels. And they attacked this thing from the top and the bottom. They cleared it out after 4.5 to 6 hours worth of being on the table. You know, I now have, you know, I have 4 stents back to back to back to back. It's the length of half of a football field, you know, that opened up this thing. And I'm here today because, yeah, my heart is going to tick harder. I'm given a daily reprieve. And with all the physical evidence that I need to have this daily reprieve, what I need most in life because I won't have anything. I won't have the energy to fight this. I won't have the energy to make these shifts in my diet, continue to not smoke, continue to do some of the things that hurt me, my body physically to begin with, without your help. And I'm here by the grace of God and through Narcotics Anonymous to be healed, emotionally and spiritually. And as much as I wanted to bail out, you know, and miss, you know, seeing Rose's lovely face, you know, seeing many of my friends and being accompanied by a lot of guys who I love to death and who enrich and enhance my own spirit, you know, and the women that, you know, that are all part of this, and the guys and the crazy, you know, just this love, this love that we experience day in and day out. I need this. I need you to heal. So I'm here to say thank you, thank you, thank you. No matter what, I know today to remain teachable. I don't care how much time you have in this program. I'm here to learn. And through that learning, more will be revealed. Thanks for letting me share.